The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority is using Google AI to create smarter tolling systems and improve traffic flow for Texans. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
This is The Hockey Show. My name is Roy Bellamy. That's
Roy.
David Jork right there.
David.
In the other studio, that's Ethan Badowski.
Ethan.
And our lead producer,
Rose.
Rose Arias. Coming up today, if you're watching on DraftKings Network, we have Steve Levy. He's the studio host for the NHL on ESPN. And we are going to talk to him about the playoffs. So if you want to watch that, you can go to the YouTube page for Batard and Friends. Click on our folder on the playlist tab.
Yes.
We are The Hockey Show.
We are The Hockey Show.
That's on there.
I'm very excited to talk to Steve Levy. I think both of us, we kind of grew up on that era of him on ESPN.
Yeah, we had Linda Cohn. We certainly have had John Butchercross on the show many a time. So having the Sportscenter alumni like we've had.
Tapping into our childhood.
Yes, tapping into our childhood. I have a conspiracy theory that I want to float to all three of you guys, including you, even though you don't know anything about hockey, Rosie.
Hey, I know Barky.
Rose knows conspiracies.
Yes, she knows.
Rose knows Barky. That should be the title of the show. Just Rose knows Barky.
No. We're going to connect the dots here. The National Hockey League has decided that in 2026, what would normally be All-Star Weekend, they have replaced the All-Star Game with a Winter Olympics kickoff event at UBS Arena. The Islanders were supposed to host the All-Star Game, right? Mm-hmm. And again, my Islander streak has somehow continued into the second round of the playoffs. I have no idea how
they just won't go away.
They just won't go away.
They're just staying present in your mind.
Yeah, rent-free. Kathy Hochul, who is the governor of the great state of New York, wrote a sternly worded letter to the National Hockey League expressing her bitter disappointment about the league holding a lesser event at the arena.
It was a good letter.
Yeah.
It was a good letter.
They put a lot of money into that arena. I understand why she's probably why she is upset.
The taxpayer dollars went into that letter.
Yeah, and that letterhead is expensive. Mm-hmm. Mainly because the league did not have any engagement. They did not talk to any government official about changing the event. This came out of the blue. This came at the last minute. We knew when the Olympics were going to start, but they decided, hey, we're going to switch up the event.
I'm guessing the success from Four Nations and how everybody just loved it across the board had a little something to do with that.
That is also a good point, but she has not seen it that way. She wants something.
She doesn't care.
No. She wants money.
We just built this arena with the pre-stipulation or whatever that there's going to be an all-star game here that's going to bring in a lot of money. It's a weekend event. It brings in fans from every team. So I can understand how she's a little upset, a little salty.
Who is she?
The governor
of New York.
I think we should just bail on the All-Star Game. After what we saw this last year, have a little warm-up tournament for the Olympics. Maybe not a tournament, but a couple games, like a showcase. You know, they used to do that where, before the 1980 Olympics, the Soviets came over, played the NHL All-Stars. I think it would be really cool, after the success we saw of the Four Nations, if you just kind of capitalize on that. Maybe you have a 2 of 3 warm-up series with the USA and Canada, something like that. Like, you don't want something too physical so that teams don't go to the Olympics and get hurt. But I think the idea of the All-Star Game is dead. And you can have a weekend where you can bring people together and you put it in one city and you say, this is wwhere it's going to be. But I think the idea of the All-Star Game, skills competition, all that stuff, after what we saw last year, it's time to just
seems
move on.
like it's going to be on rotation.
I don't think you're having. I don't think you're off with what you're saying. I think the point of this is they're pulling the rug out from under somebody that they already promised it to. Like, if you want to get rid of the All-Star Game, fine. Like, the Four Nations was awesome. Like, we've had a lot of fun with different ideas. However, you don't promise it and take it away, and I think that's kind of the issue here, is it comes into a big financial issue.
The thing is, the All-Star, I remember one player. Do you remember that one player that he was not even interested in playing?
Nikita Kucherov.
The Art Ross winner.
Yeah, he was like, I don't even want to participate. So I don't think the players are into it. So if they're not into it, I don't think we need an All-Star. So
Well, Kucherov isn't he Russian? Mm-hmm. So he wouldn't be able to play anyway.
He would only be able to play if it was an All-Star game.
Yeah.
Have they decided if Russia's allowed to play in the Olympics yet? I don't think that decision's been made, right?
It's probably going to be like what they did in the last Olympic,
Are we
Winter
talking-
Olympics. It's like going to be like
Based
a
off
representation of those athletes.
The current political landscape would lead me to believe that it's not going to change. But, that's way out of my pay grade, so I don't know. I'm definitely just kind of outsider looking in that politics conversation. But it seems that since the last conversation was had, things have gotten worse and not better.
Yeah.
So,
oh boy.
Back to my conspiracy theory.
yeah.
We kind of got off track there.
Great start, guys.
Yeah, so Governor Hochul wants something the size of an All-Star game, or at least something the size, I guess, of Four Nations. And Gary Bettman has said that they are committed to hosting an event in 2026 and 2027. So that leads me to the NHL draft lottery that happened on Monday.
I see where you're going with
The New York Islanders had a 3.5% chance of winning the lotteries. That was the 10th best odds of the group, and they won the draft lottery. So let's connect the dots here. The NHL changes plans on next year's All-Star game due to the Winter Olympics. The governor of New York gets pissed. They paid a lot of money to build that arena. The Islanders win the draft lottery and may host some sort of event, maybe an All-Star game if they go back to it, maybe another international event like Four Nations in 2027.
Is this
as
a
well as
frozen
2026?
Is this a frozen envelope scenario you're suggesting here, Roy?
Yes, I am, except they use ping pong balls in this situation. So maybe it was a frozen ping pong ball.
We kind of
Maybe it was
saw the
magnets.
whole thing happen, which I know was a little clunky, the presentation of it, but I thought it was really cool to actually see how the process works and watch it go down. But
Yeah.
It was a good broadcast.
The new format, I
ESPN does
liked
it well.
it for sure. The ending was, but that's what you want. You want something unsuspected, right? You want a surprise. This particular surprise, though, I don't disagree with you, Roy. It definitely smells a little funky.
It's not a surprise.
two teams got rewarded for having good seasons. I mean, maybe not great seasons. They didn't make the playoffs, but the Islanders came close. The Utah Hockey Club, now the Utah Mammoth,
Yeah, they moved
came
up
close and to making the playoffs,
Where
and
was
they
this
both got
when
rewarded.
The Panthers were the first team out of the playoffs for like 10 straight years.
Yeah.
Where was this luck for the Panthers back
I'm
then?
gonna
No,
tell
they
you
were busy
something.
trying to build up the Penguins.
Nothing is. You're not gonna like what I'm gonna say, but nothing is luck in sports because in sports there's so much money. Everything is meticulously planned. That's why I think the Edmonton Oilers are gonna win because they were down.
Whoa, no.
The
You are
Edmonton
not going
the
to absolve
Edmonton Oilers
yourself
are
of
going
what
to
you
win
said in the
because
first
you
round,
said
Rosie.
that they were
no.
done.
Now that they're
and
back,
that the Kings
they're going all
were
the way.
winning.
But I think they're gonna win because it's gonna be a perfect movie, just like Tom Brady. They made Tom Brady win everything. Come on, sports are all planned.
except
so
that marriage.
yeah.
Oh, no. I'm not getting into that one.
No, we're not getting into that. But sports, it's all planned.
Stop
So-
making
Yes.
me think about Bill Belichick and the whole situation because I know this is the hockey show. I was so obsessed with that outside. Like,
You are not going to bring that image
No,
in my head.
no.
We are not
Islanders,
going to do that.
They knew they were gonna get
what
it.
was it, Ethan? We're on the missionary.
We're on to Chicago.
We are not. No,
we're
we
on to hockey.
No,
we're
we
on
are on
Winston
to
Fields.
Winnipeg. We
We're
are on to Winnipeg, and we are going to check out the fast food scene
What
up
happened?
there. Apparently, there was a KFC
Oh, yes. This is so cool.
that has rebranded itself in celebration of the Winnipeg Jets advancing to the second round. They have rebranded themselves. I don't know if they have a name or not, but they have branded themselves, at least logo is concerned,
Yes,
after
no.
Kyle Connor.
KFC, Kyle effing Connor.
Kyle effing Connor.
That's what it is.
I'm so used. I'm not used to calling them Kentucky Fried Chicken anymore. Yeah, Kyle effing Connor.
The fact that they're leaning into it, like that, it's an effing, which it's fine, obviously, but like the fact that they're leaning into that as that's where the F is, like I love it.
Yeah,
it's so cool. Way
The cartoon
cooler than
looks like you.
McDavid's.
He looks like you. He looks like you.
Yeah, it looks like David.
Doesn't look anything like David at all.
does.
Different hair
Look, no,
colors,
put the
different
cartoon again.
faces.
No,
Doesn't
no,
look
put the cartoon
anything
again.
like David at all.
To describe what's
The
going on
cartoon
here.
it does.
To
On the
describe what's
bucket
going
of
on.
chicken?
Yeah. on the bucket of chicken. We're going to put it again.
Should we
You'll
try
see.
to get one of those buckets, Rose? Because they're
Look at that.
To describe what's going on for audio,
No, that's your
they
face.
got Kyle.
Oh, my God.
That looks nothing like David Jork.
That's David.
That looks nothing like David Jork.
They got Kyle Connor's silhouette. What they usually have is the colonel.
Yeah, with the
obviously.
little colonel bow tie and everything.
Yeah, so Kyle Connor is wearing a helmet, and he's over the bow tie, which is usually on the colonel. And apparently you could take the bucket that they usually put the chicken in and put it on your head. That's pretty good branding.
With David.
I kind of want one of those buckets now.
All right, let's go. Yeah.
Do we know anybody in Winnipeg?
No, we don't.
I do.
Of course you do.
I
Make
know
some
somebody
calls,
from
Rosie.
Winnipeg.
Of course you
I
do,
do know
Rose.
somebody from Winnipeg.
Make some calls.
They don't
Guys.
live there, but I know
Guys,
somebody from
come on.
Winnipeg.
Let's do it.
Come on, make some calls.
We probably know somebody that will be in Winnipeg to cover a hockey game in the next week or so. That we probably do know.
Let's go to Wins and Fails, brought to you by Jägermeister. Serve it cold or don't serve it at all. Jägermeister. Damn, that's cold. For more, visit Jägermeister.com. Drink responsibly. David, what is your win of the week?
My win of the week, Rosie, is the Edmonton Oilers. Since Rose's proclamation that they were Dunsty, not only have they won 6 straight games, but they've won 6 straight games while coming from behind. It's an NHL record. It was an NHL record when it was 5 games. They are so much fun to watch right now. It's exciting. It's great hockey. I don't know what to think in terms of a final rematch. We'll see if the Panthers take care of business tonight and get their shit together.
It's your fault, Rosie.
But
Your fault.
can we all agree that the Oilers have been incredibly fun to watch over the last couple of weeks?
They're terrifying, and the most terrifying thing about them is these 6 comeback wins. McDavid has 1 goal, and it was an empty netter.
This is all for you, DJ. You like the Oilers? I did it for you.
My win of the week.
You like my producing?
It's been a long-held stereotype that Canadians are exceptionally nice people who don't get angry easily, unless, of course, you put tariffs on them and try to make them your the 51st state of the United States of America. But hey, that's what a hockey show. We talk about hockey, but they can be hilariously passive-aggressive, as proven by the signs made by this Toronto Maple Leafs fan prior to Game 2 between Toronto and the Florida Panthers. One sign that he held up said, "I hope every flight Sam Bennett ever takes gets delayed." And the second sign said, "Matthew Tkachuk brushes his teeth with 2 hands," basically calling him a Neanderthal. So,
I mean, those are very sweet, angry signs.
yeah,
I hope his plane crashes, which is what most
That'd
angry
be very
fans would say.
violent, yeah.
No, but I hope he gets a flight delay. Like, that's sneaky though. Like, that's very inconvenient. It's
Ethan,
frustrating.
what's your win of the week?
My win of the week goes to a guy we've talked about a lot on this show this year, Mikko Rantanen of the Dallas Stars. He is quickly becoming the story of the playoffs, and it started really in Game 7 of the first round against the Colorado Avalanche, his former team, where they were down 2-0. He scores twice, an unbelievable wraparound goal here, and then he assists on the third and go-ahead goal, and then how does he finish it off? An empty netter to secure the hat trick. Send home the Colorado Avalanche, his former team.
And
the Carolina Hurricanes could really use a guy like Mikko Rantanen, and the Colorado Avalanche could also really use a guy like Mikko Rantanen.
But of course, he wasn't
on the
done
golf
there.
course?
And he wasn't done there. He scored.
Of course.
He had scored or assisted on, I believe, 12 straight goals for the Dallas Stars, which is a playoff record. He's the story of the playoffs right now, and if Dallas wins, he's going to be the Conn Smythe winner. So he is unbelievable and proving a lot of GMs to look very foolish for trading him. How does that guy get traded twice in a season? That's insane.
Back-to-back hat
Insane.
tricks. Natural hat trick in Game 1.
Giggity, giggity.
That's some good stuff there for Mikko Rantanen. So, yeah, you deserve the revenge tour there. Rosie,
My win of the week is a 30.
what was that?
It's a 36 feet basket by the one and only Caitlin Clark.
Oh,
Look at that! Look at that! Oh my God! You
Nothing
can
but
pause it
net.
there.
okay.
That's
all
all we want to see.
right. Let's move on to the fails of the week.
Beautiful. Thank you.
The collective fail of the week, I should say, because we firmly disagree on what happened in Game 2.
Never has there been more of agreement in our group chat.
Yeah.
I have another fail, but yeah, you can go.
Well, let's get to our fail
what?
first, because it's a giant fail.
Yes, go.
All right, Scott Lawton hits Evan Rodrigues from behind along the boards. That effectively is boarding, correct? That's in the rule book.
Yes.
That's not what was called. What was called was embellishment on Evan Rodrigues. If you've seen the highlight, if you're watching right now, this is embellishment. He gets boarded, which is not called, crushed into the boards. He's laying down on the ice. It takes a while to get up, and then he ends up leaving the ice, going to the locker room, and they call embellishment on Evan Rodrigues. How in the world is that embellishment?
It's not. He got hit really hard. His face went into his stick, which was in his hands, which protected him from going face first into the glass. He was not a safe distance from the boards. That's the whole point of the rule. And fine, whatever. It didn't even get called boarding at the time. But, dude, Paul Maurice said he got no explanation. We haven't gotten an explanation. It's ridiculous. It's one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my life.
It's been bad officiating all playoffs, and that's just that's top of the list.
The embellishment as a call doesn't make sense when you call a penalty with it. So and
they didn't there.
No,
they legit. That's the first time I've ever seen that.
Roughing. He didn't get a minor for hitting
nobody went on the power play there. So I didn't understand what happened.
Well, it was two separate. It wasn't even a double minor. It was two separate in the penalty sheet. It was two separate roughing calls on Scott Lawton.
Yeah,
whatever the case may be, embellishment doesn't make sense because they call it sometimes when there's an actual penalty, which you can't sell a call if it's an actual penalty, and then sometimes they don't call it when it's an obvious flop. It's been outrageous in the playoffs.
Rosie, fail.
Okay, let's finish with my fail of the week. I lost my phone, and that was my fail. But yeah,
least surprising fail
going
ever.
to Mexico.
Jesus Christ. Come on,
and you're going to tell the story.
More responsible with your stuff.
I'm going to tell the story in my Instagram because right now I have 31 seconds and it doesn't. I cannot do it right now. So I'm going to send the story so you know people what happened.
All right, go to Rosie's Instagram and you'll get the story there. She is a klutz and she is forgetful. Coming up next, we have Steve Levy from the NHL on ESPN. He's going to do a game next week. Actually, he's going to do play-by-play. We're going to talk to him about that and the Stanley Cup playoffs. Steve Levy is coming up next on The Hockey Show.
Yes. Very excited.
Yes, very excited.
I am very excited to talk to Steve.
Okay.
You know, when you celebrate 50 years of Miller Lite, I had to bring in a Miller Lite aficionado, Greg Cody. I mean, no one says Miller Lite like Greg Cody. When I think of me and you, I think of us on a golf course. Where else are we at?
I mean, on a cruise ship. In my backyard.
At the beach.
At the beach is a good one.
And what do we always do? We hear the
oh yeah.
And then what do?
We toast.
We got a nice little clink. The clink, whether it's the can or the bottle, there's something about the clink of the Miller Lite.
Yeah, and it's not just how much we love it. It's the whole ritual of it. You know, the popping the top, the sound of that. Yeah, it's great. Love it.
From game nights to parties with friends or a special anniversary, celebrating important occasions means more with the coolest people in your life. Cheers to 50 years of Miller Lite, the great tasting light beer for people who love beer since 1975. Now's the perfect time to celebrate legendary stories with friends, family, and a great tasting light beer. It's Miller time. The simple ingredients, that malted barley for rich, balanced toffee note flavors and that iconic golden color.
Yes, it's one. Everything about it is wonderful. I can't think of anything bad.
You're smiling. Ever since we started doing this ad read, you have just been smiling the entire time.
I'm a Miller Lite guy.
That kind of thing. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
All right, hockey fans, you can catch the second round action of the Stanley Cup playoffs across the ESPN platforms, across the ESPN universe, and it continues Tuesday, May 13th, as Steve Levy, our next guest, is on the call for the Jets Stars Game 4 matchup at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Steve, we are going to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs right now, and we're going to start with the Capitals and Hurricanes, who are currently tied at 1 in the series. Tom Wilson has had a career year this season and has carried over into the playoffs, and he's been a major difference for the Capitals. Thank you for joining us, Steve. Talk about how big of a role he's had so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's an NHL unicorn. Really, he is. There are only a few guys who can do what he does, and he's the best guy at all of those qualities that he brings. He scored 30 goals this season. And he's, among the most feared players in the NHL. And the key thing about Wilson is he can play in all situations. He played such a massive role in the Game 2 win to get them back even in the series, but he had a big shot block at the end of the game to make sure Carolina couldn't get back and score the tying goal before the empty netter. So, again, he's feared. Carolina doesn't have anybody like that. There are very few players in the league who have a legitimate NHL tough guy heavyweight who can also play on your top line. And that's why it's so rare. He's crossed the line a few times in his NHL career. And every time I put that out on the Twitter or the X or whatever, and people like freak out about him, every single GM in the league would want to have him on their team. But you hate him when you play against him, and you love to have him in Washington if you're a Caps fan. He's a great player as far as I'm concerned. Was shocked he was not on Four Nations to begin with.
So down here, if you can't tell by what I'm wearing, where we are, we're in South Florida. We cover the Panthers. They are down 0-2 to the Toronto Maple Leafs right now, Steve. Are you giving the Panthers a chance to come back in the series, or is this Toronto's year?
Absolutely a chance. Nothing's been decided. It's an old hockey adage, a series doesn't start until a home team loses a game. And so that hasn't happened yet. No. And so, but I was surprised. I was surprised that Florida didn't get one of the first two. They had an awful start in that first game, roared back. They played pretty well in game number 2 as well. So, no, I'm not saying Florida's out of it. The heart of a champion, the defending Stanley Cup champs. They've got all the key quality pieces. I think they're being hurt by Matthew Tkachuk, though. He's clearly not himself. He's a dynamic, fantastic player. And it just, I'm sitting there next to Mess and PK, and he's not involved offensively as much as he normally is. I don't know if it's, again, he missed the whole second half of the season. We talked about Four Nations there. He didn't play a single game after the Four Nations in the regular season. It was a question mark going into the playoffs. Just looks like he's not 100%. It's his skating or whatever it is. He can't get to the loose pucks he normally gets to. And so, look, him at 70 is better than anybody else. I get that. But you're counting on him and maybe a couple extra days before they get, before the home game. They'll be able to get him ready to go and more like his actual self. And Florida will be fine, too. Bobrovsky has not been great. I'm sure he'll come up with a top-notch performance in Game 3.
What did you think about the embellishment call on Evan Rodrigues in Game 2?
When I saw it first, I didn't see the embellishment. I saw that as a dangerous sort of dirty hit. And then watching it again, maybe there's a little bit. He knew the player was coming. He was able to get his hands up to protect himself. So there were a couple other things. The veteran moves. And so, I guess the official can be right on both things. You can have an illegal hit, if it was a charge or whatever it was, and also embellish. Both things can happen. Although I'd like to see it the other way, right? If it's either a trip or an embellishment. It can't be both.
Thank you. I've been saying
I'd like to see it that way, but that's not the way the officials call it, and so that's their way of evening things up, if you will.
Whoa, wait a minute. Okay, so this is a common thing. You're saying this is a veteran move.
By
Rodrigues, then why even call it a penalty in the playoffs?
Yeah, when they tend to let things go, right? Again, it looked dangerous. At first glance, I thought it looked dangerous up against the sidewall there in the neutral zone. And listen, I can't speak for the officials, right? They've got a crazy difficult job. They're under heat again for what happened last night with Arvidsson and McNabb that might have decided the Vegas-Edmonton game last night. So It's really hard to see at incredible speed, massive guys, sticks, pucks, skates. So I'm not going to make excuses for them. They do a great job, but they've got an impossible job to do.
Leaves, you mentioned Edmonton, and they're starting to look like a team that can win the Stanley Cup legitimately. I mean, we knew that before the season, but now, they struggled during the year a little bit, limped in. Now they're really looking like a force. So I'm curious, looking at them and then looking at everybody else, who was your pick before the playoffs, and has that changed based off what you've seen so far?
All right, so I'm glad you asked that. My pick before the playoffs started was going to be the Dallas Stars, okay? I love Dallas. I expect them to get Miro Heiskanen back and Jason Robertson back. Now, they've just gotten Robertson back, but they both missed the first round. And so I'm really mad at myself. I became a coward, though. I became a coward when I saw. So Robertson gets hurt in the final regular season game Kind of a meaningless game for Dallas in that spot. And I said, you know what? Without their best goal scorer and without their best defenseman, how are they going to beat the mighty Avalanche? And so I bailed out, okay? I did have Washington coming out of the East, and nobody likes Washington, by the way. Mm-hmm. And I had Vegas coming out of the West as my Stanley Cup final. And probably Vegas winning, I think, if I have to go back and look at ESPN.com. Listen, Edmonton would have been way down the list, boys. Edmonton would have been way down the list. Fair. I do think it's going to be a Western Conference team. I think the West is much stronger than the East. But Edmonton was way down the list. I don't trust their goaltending. And I don't know what I'm going to do about that now. This is Calvin Pickard. This is their backup goalie who has now won, I think, 6 in a row.
6 in a row.
All in comeback fashion.
Yeah.
Right? 6 games in a row. That's Grant Fuhr stuff, guys. That's legendary in Edmonton. And so I keep waiting for him to fail. I don't think Vegas is done necessarily yet, but they had to get that hockey game last night. And the Oilers are so top-heavy, right? 2 best offensive players on the planet, and they play together on the first line. Who else is going to score? And last night, other guys did score. Podkolzin scores. Wallner scores last night. So now if they're going to get, great goaltending from their backup goalie and fourth-line scoring as well, then, write it down now. The Oilers are going to, at least get to the Cup. It's been a wild playoff so far.
So we got Grant Fuhr, we got Bill Ranford, we got Calvin Pickard. It's Oilers history.
Right?
And Curtis Joseph.
I'm starting to see all those names pop up that torched the Panthers in the Stanley Cup final last year. Connor Brown, Arvidsson.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm blanking on a couple of them. But all those guys, you knew about McDavid and Draisaitl coming in this series, but names like Connor Brown send chills down my spine from games 4 through 6 of the Stanley Cup final last year.
Panther
and they're doing it again this year. It's unbelievable.
That's what they
And the Oilers are worse. The Oilers are worse. They lost 2 critical players. They lost that Broberg, the defenseman, got an offer sheet.
And
Holweg, the forward they lost him to. The Oilers are worse, theoretically, on paper, in terms of their roster. They got worse. And so that's really remarkable. Again, Skinner was playing great last year in the playoffs, got them to within 1 game of the Cup. And I can't get over the Pickard thing. I hate to be repetitive, but it's remarkable. But that's why the Stanley Cup playoffs are so cool, right? You just never know. You really don't know anything until after each game's over. Then you pretend to know something more.
Speaking of goaltending, the Jets survived their series against the St. Louis Blues in 7. Now Connor Hellebuck got pulled 3 times in that series. So going into the series against the Dallas Stars as Davis Mike. I mean, what is going on here? But going into this series against the Stars, is Connor Hellebuck actually going to perform like the Vezina Trophy winner that he is?
Who knows, man? I mean, I have no idea. It's like it's like playoff Jimmy Butler in the NBA, right? It's like regular season Connor Hellebuck. It's guys, he's not only up for the Vezina, he's up for the Hart as the league's overall MVP. Goaltenders do not win the Hart Trophy. They don't even get nominated. They have their own award. So that tells you how good a regular season he had. And we did this on the air the other night. So, the Jets are 1.8 seconds away from blowing everything up. I mean, GM fired, coach fired, president fired, players traded, players cut, moved out. Everybody get out of town. Families pulled out of houses, schools moved, divorces, engagements over, we're selling the team. I mean, maybe not that drastic, but you get the idea. Mm-hmm. You can't have another regular season like that and bomb out in the playoffs again. You just can't.
No.
Something's got to be wrong there. And so they get the miracle goal to tie. They win in overtime. Breath of fresh air, a little bit of life now. And now we'll see how everybody can sit back and relax. Okay, Mark Messier, who knows about these things, has often said the first round can be the most difficult round of the playoffs, which is interesting when you hear that from a guy like Mess. So we'll see what happens. Very strong first game, off to a big start here. Hellebuck, settled down an awful lot. and started to perform the way he had in that second half of that game. And now we'll see what happens in Game 2 tonight. But I feel a lot better about Winnipeg now after that, getting out of that first round. Now, listen, they were also without their arguably the best forward in Mark Scheifele, who returned in Game 1 and scored a goal. And Josh Morrissey's their best defenseman. He's out of the lineup. So all these teams are down their best forward and best defenseman and still winning hockey games like Winnipeg was, Dallas was, and it's really remarkable.
Now, Steve, Roy and I kind of grew up following hockey in the 90s. That's when we came up as hockey fans, and obviously you were a big part of that for us down here. One of our biggest exposures to hockey was ESPN, national games.
Yeah, that 99 season, just watching the Sabres go to the Stanley Cup final, I've heard him plenty of times
Dominator.
On ESPN doing those Sabres games.
So one of the
that was our favorite cup. That was for Melrose and I, that was among our favorite cups. Dallas, Buffalo, Chippewa Street in downtown Buffalo. That was Brett Hull, foot in the crease.
Yes.
No goal.
So yes
no
or no?
goal.
Yes or no?
No
Is it a goal?
goal.
No, I'm not asking you. I'm asking
Okay,
Steve.
fine. All right, go ahead.
Yes or no?
The way the rules were called all that season, that's no goal.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
And by the way, on Buffalo Bills football telecasts now, out of the blue, still to this day, there'll be one fan and the 70,000 people holding up a sign that says no goal.
I love it.
I mean, that is still out there. So, yeah, that one's a great series.
You mentioned how much fun you had with Barry Melrose during that playoff run, and I actually wanted to ask you about Barry just because we love him so much. Obviously, he's retired the last few years because of health issues, but just kind of going back, and I'm sure, this is an impossible question to answer, but...
wow, look at that ESPN2 mic flag.
I love it, dude. The deuce.
But you would look at my hair.
NHL tonight, baby.
Yeah.
But just when I bring up Barry Melrose to you, just off the dome, what's maybe one or two of the best Barry Melrose stories that you can remember?
Listen, he's just one of my favorite people on the planet. And we're all in the same I get emotional just talking about it again. We're all in the same business. And when you start out at a place, at a workplace, it's your business, and then you have colleagues. And then with any luck, those colleagues become friends. And if you work long enough with them, then they become good friends and best friends. And then if you work even really long with them and you get to know their families, their life stories, and then you become family with them in essence. And so, I consider Barry a member of my family. I'm lucky to have my parents around. My parents have known Barry and his family forever. His wife, Cindy, his two boys. My kids call him Uncle Barry and all that kind of stuff. And so, we just had the best time. He's just the greatest guy, a guy who, played just 7 seasons in the NHL as a player. He was always like the 7th defenseman, right? He always had to worry, was he getting scratched or was he getting sent down? He used to tell the story. He only started in 2 places, in Boston and Philadelphia, the 2 toughest places in the entire league because he had to fight somebody every single night. That was the kind of player he was. And back in that era, and then he, of course, had great success coaching, taking the Kings to the Stanley Cup in Barry's rookie year. And Wayne Gretzky's on record calling Barry, maybe his favorite coach or among his favorite NHL head coaches of all time. So just the greatest guy. So much more to him than what everybody sees. The big laugh. If you could smell the cologne and the cigar smoke on him, and the hair gel, obviously, the oversized suits. Tremendous historian, avid reader of books, like a really smart guy who you just think about as being an old hockey dude. So, he's fighting the fight. I talk to him probably once a week. I got to see him at the Four Nations because we were in Columbus. He's now, he and the family were living in Ohio. So I got to go see him. That was the last time I saw him. I owe him a visit. And he's fighting the good fight. He's dealing with an awful problem. It's out there. It's documented. And I just think about him every single day. And there's a real strong push to get him in the Hockey Hall of Fame in the broadcaster wing.
Yes.
So we'll see if hopefully that can happen. That's supposed to be announced end of this month or so. So we'll root for that.
Anybody that grew up on ESPN like me and like you guys and loved hockey loves Barry Melrose, and he is the greatest. And anybody that grew up on ESPN as well, loves This Is Sportscenter commercials, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so a few weeks ago, we had John Buccigross on the show, and I ran my top 5 list of This Is SportsCenter commercials by him. But I realized I made some big mistakes, and I had a huge omission. So I want to run this by you, Levy,
Sure.
because you might be in here. I don't know. So, all right, the OLI are the 2 involving my Florida Gators. Albert, the alligator, is in John Rahm's lie in the kitchen, and Steve Irwin tackles him coming out of the elevator.
One of my favorites.
I'm in that one, yep.
That is a great one. All right, number 5, Jay Harris. The elevator opens. He asks the Devils mascot if he's going up, and he's not. He gets out of the elevator. That's a great one.
Classic, simple, right?
So good.
Understated, perfect.
Yeah.
Number 4, you're in this one. Alex Ovechkin and the Russian spies.
Yeah, that's a fabulous one. I told a story the other day. That's the most expensive This Is SportsCenter in history. Think about that. We had to build, in essence, that copy room. We had to build that on the basketball court because we couldn't actually have them go through the ceiling in the real building, right? It doesn't really work that way, right? And great assistance by the second actor, Semyon Varlamov, the backup over there, who's up there and above the tiling. So we had that lift, that machine that had to lift Ovi through the building. And so the other piece of that is we had a stunt double for him.
Ovi?
We had a guy,
my God.
exact Ovi size, shape, shoulders, full pads, the pants, shin guards, skates, equipment. He's on the set all day, and you guys know these things take forever. This could have been 6 hours sitting out there, and nobody's like, "No, I do my own stunts." Like he's Tom Cruise all of a sudden. He's flying outside of airplanes and stuff, jumping out of buildings. So that was so much fun,
story.
and that's resurfaced the last year or two because it's now politically funny also, right? And so
All right,
late night filings, very funny.
Number 3, Albert Pujols talking to the copy machine.
His nickname was the Machine. Yeah, me and John Anderson and I, we had a lot of fun with that. Albert Pujols is a super classy guy. We had a relationship based on that. Albert had a great charitable foundation that I got involved with after that, and to this day, it's cool to have his cell phone number in my phone. I cherish that.
Nice.
Great hitter, the Machine.
The Machine. Why didn't you eliminate them, Albert? Number 2, Arnold Palmer pouring himself an Arnold Palmer. This was my number 1 last time, but it's been unseated because I forgot far and away the greatest This Is SportsCenter commercial of all time. John Clayton finishing his segment, jumping into bed, letting his hair down, eating his Chinese food, and yelling down to his mother. I'm done with my segment.
I think that is the one on the all-time. Wait, is that the one that got unseated, or that's your new number 1?
That is my new number 1. I forgot about it last time, and it was
When
a
did you kick
terrible
out?
omission.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Arnold Palmer was number 1 last time, and it was unseated for this because this is far and away the greatest.
So listen, this was a company called Wyden and Kennedy, right? And they produced all of these. And listen, I can only speak for myself. I don't speak for my colleagues, but I'm not that funny. Like, I'm not that clever, And so they wrote these things for us. And the secret to them, right, at SportsCenter was all about, wow, oh, what a play, crash, bang, boom, he runs into the wall, gone, a home run, what a slam. Everything, it goes the other way. Everything's shh, right, hushed tones, understated, less words, right? Like, how many words are actually in that Arnold Palmer one? The Jay Harris one you mentioned.
Oh, it had to have been 5.
Right. The Arnold Palmer one is great because our guy Stuart Scott's in that one too with Van Pelt and
also rest in power.
Guys in my spot would be fighting over each other to get onto campus that day. Like, you would see guys who were on Disney vacations with their families come back early. Like, once they found out, they're shooting a commercial, maybe I can be an extra in the background. And so it was a great period. To this day, I'm asked much more about those commercials than really anything I've actually said on a real SportsCenter. And they would take over the day. Like, these 30-second commercials could take 6 hours and eliminate a building or a hallway. And the other story about that is that people should know, so it wasn't just us jumping over each other to get in them. The athletes wanted to be in them. we didn't pay the athletes anything. I think maybe we donated $1,000 to their favorite charity or something. And as you know, these people don't do anything without getting paid these days, right?
Right.
And LaDainian Tomlinson, one day in his Chargers days, he flew from San Diego and back the same day. That's how badly he wanted to be in a SportsCenter commercial. And that was the one, he had the tinted visor, right?
Great one. That's a very good one as well, yes.
And he was putting the mail in the wrong spots.
Yeah. Just dropping them on the floor.
So I'm there with him like, hey, LT, what are you doing, man? And he's like, what do you mean? And so the other aspect, and we'll move on after this, but so his PR flunky or whatever, the PR flunky's assistant, whatever, is watching there, and all they can think about is, hey, you can't see my client's face. I want exposure. And so they asked the producer, hey, could we do one without the helmet on so people can see it? So and then we're all like, well, then he's just a dope. Then why is he putting the mail in the wrong place if he can see properly? And so they wound up filming a spot just to appease the PR person, whoever that was at that time. And of course, I'm not sure there was even film in it, right? That never ran, that never aired. They were just merely trying to appease that young person. So, but it's been great fun to be in. What a home run! What a genius move that was for ESPN to get involved with Wyden and Kennedy there.
I just got to throw a little bit of love before we move on to the tearaway warm-up commercial with, I believe it was Stuart Scott and Scott Van Pelt, where they were like doing their warm-ups and they ripped off their suits to reveal suits underneath. I thought that was hilarious.
Yes.
Finally, before we let you go, Steve, this came across the wire yesterday about Joel Quenneville being the new Anaheim Ducks head coach. Now, we kind of saw this coming considering that Stan Bowman is in Edmonton's front office right now. But after what happened to Kyle Beach in Chicago in 2010, it just doesn't make any sense to me while either one of them or anybody from that franchise would have a job in this league. So what do you feel about it? Did Stan Bowman and does Joel Quenneville deserve a second chance?
This is a slippery slope, and that's for someone other than myself to decide. And the league has decided apparently that it's okay. Stan Bowman's been back is it a full year or is it even 2 years now?
Yeah, it's been a full year now.
Yeah, okay. So he's come back. Apparently they have done everything they've had to do to make it right at least by the National Hockey League. And I can't speak for what's happened away from the ice and what's on the game. It brought terrible headlines to the league. It did raise great awareness. It shined a light on a subject that there needed to be a lot more light on. And then at some point, Quenneville has been, rumored to be in the mix for jobs and all those things, but the commissioner kept saying the time wasn't right. And for whatever reason, Gary Bettman and the NHL has decided the time is right now. And listen, the Anaheim Ducks, they've made that decision that they're okay with this. I saw the press conference yesterday. Joel Quenneville appeared to say all the right things off a prepared statement that it was. And so we'll see where it goes. But, I'm not the right guy to say right or wrong time. And we'll have to see where this goes. But I understand from the victim's perspective for sure. This is a much bigger issue than ice hockey. And we'll see where it goes from here.
The team said that they actually talked to Kyle Beach about this hire, and they decided to go with it anyway. So I'm guessing that Kyle gave them his blessing. Hopefully that's the case.
Hopefully that's the case.
I mean, that would be nice if that was the case. You'd like to think that was the case. And if that is the case, then full marks to Kyle, right, for trying to be the bigger person in this case. And maybe he's in a good place now where he wasn't. And all you can do is hope he was taken care of and got everything he needed and continues to this day.
Well, we're going to listen to you on Tuesday for Game 4 Jets Stars. It's not going to be like the good old days because the good old days are here, still here. So, Steve, thank you for joining us here on The Hockey Show.
Thank you for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. Good talking pucks with you guys.
Folks, listen up. If you run anything online these days, a podcast, a merch store, whatever it is, you're basically forced to wear 12 hats. Marketing? Sure. Customer service? Why not? And now you're supposed to be your own IT department? Kinsta is managed WordPress hosting, which means you get blazing fast site speeds, top-tier security, and a dashboard that doesn't look like it was built in 2006. And if something goes sideways, real humans, not bots, to help you 24/7. No scripts, no sorry I don't understand replies. Kinsta takes the stress out of tech stuff so you can actually focus on your business. Or in our case, more time watching games, arguing nonsense, and delivering the hottest take possible. No messing with settings, no panic troubleshooting, just smooth sailing. Tired of being your own website support team? Switch your hosting to Kinsta and get your first month free. And don't worry about the move, they'll handle the whole transition for you. No tech expertise required. Just visit kinsta.com/Dan to get started. That's KINSTA.com/Dan.
The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for all the high-stakes drama, the clutch moments, the jaw-dropping plays, and if you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code DAN. That's code DAN, D-A-N, for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Okay, I begrudgingly want to talk about the Panthers right now, who are down 0-2 to the Toronto Maple Leafs as they make their way back home to Sunrise for Game 3 tonight. It's basically the worst case scenario for the Panthers as they've adjusted this mic. It just slipped on you, didn't it?
Just went limp on me.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so.
No Belichick this mic.
It was a bad
You
start.
got to relax with that, dude. You got to stop.
I'm so hyper.
This is a hockey show, okay?
It was a bad start in Game 1. Just an awful start, but they did try to rally, and they came up short. And there was some major mistakes in Game 1, including a terrible line change.
Oy.
That should not happen.
It wasn't really a line change. It was like a line forgetful.
He forgot. It was Belinsky forgot to come on the ice.
I'm sure that there's some story behind it that he didn't just forget. Like maybe there was some kind of equipment issue, or it was there was some reason we didn't get an explanation. But why?
My dad and I are still very much learning hockey together, right? So after the game, we were walking the dog and kind of discussing everything, and he was like, I'm still kind of learning hey, it's a nice
Walking the dog, you can leave that part out.
We have our discussions when we walk the dog. So anyway, we're talking about the game, talking about what happened, and my dad's like, what does good coaching in hockey look like? Like, is that mistake where there's only 4 guys on the ice? Is that coaching, or that's just execution, right? Like, that's just a guy that either didn't hear the line change or didn't catch his guy coming in or whatever. That's not a mistake that you can make as a Stanley Cup champion in the playoffs.
Well, Nate Schmidt
things that these teams do.
Defense, so he should have been out there. The clear cut, he should have been out there. I don't know if it's going to be an equipment issue or not, but he should have been out there, because if Nate Schmidt's out there, he needs to be out there.
Yeah, and it just highlights a bigger issue that the Panthers are having, right? Which Game 2 was a mess for the Panthers ultimately. Like, I just kept talking to my brother, watching the game together, just saying.
Were you walking a dog?
No, this time we were
smoking a J.
This time we were at Brightside hanging out, watching the game, of course. But no, we were just, watching the game, and I keep talking to him. The key thing I kept saying to him was, this is not the Panthers' pace. This is not the way that they want to play the game. Toronto, when it's going up and down like that second period was breathless. It was just constant up and down the ice, and when Toronto's going to win that game every single time you play it. That's not how the Panthers are going to win the game. And they got beat because they played Toronto's game. Game 1 was sloppy. They had some bad mistakes in the first couple periods. You can blame that on rust. Then they kind of took over, dominated the game, nearly came back. I thought Game 2 was more concerning for the Panthers because Toronto looked like the better team, and they dictated the play. And that's not a recipe for success for the Florida Panthers.
Well, the good thing about the Panthers offense is they're so aggressive that their defensive unit can naturally pinch in and provide offense for the team. Sometimes that goes against them in transition with breakouts. I-man rushes happen. Stretch passes happen where the puck ends up getting behind them, and breakaways happen that way.
Like I don't remember if it was the second or third Toronto goal. I think it was the Max Domi goal where like Florida was changing. They were in the offensive zone. I think it was like Nico Mikkola was trying to come down from the point. Tkachuk saw him. It was typical play. But whoever was on Toronto's defense was very smart, got a stick on the puck, and it just deflected it just enough. As Florida was coming one way, Toronto starts going the other way. So it's these perfect storm situations that happen. I think even Paul Maurice said both of their rush goals started on Florida sticks. So some things to clean up. But I don't know, Ethan, I actually thought that they did more of what they want to do in Game 2 than they did in Game 1. I thought they had more pressure in Toronto's zone.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it's just a progression to tonight at home where they can really show that they're the defensive powerhouse team that they are. I don't know, man.
I just thought that second period, that pace was just so crazy that you're like, this is not the Panthers game. But then when you look at the numbers afterwards, like the Panthers XG expected goals compared to the Maple Leafs was way higher. Yep. So it was something like 3-1 expected goals. So there was honestly some bad goaltending by Bobrovsky. The last goal, I thought, I don't know how that puck went in. It was just kind of Marner firing one off from the boards. And, I mean, it's a great shot. Unbelievable placement. But I just thought, there are still some positive signs for the Panthers in terms of the pace wasn't them, but they still got the chances that they need. They missed a couple. Listen, credit to Joseph Wall as well. I mean, he makes a great save on Mackie Samoskevich, and he's come in like, the narrative is going to be, the Panthers can't beat a backup goalie. They were really 1A and 1B in Toronto this year. So,
come on, man.
David.
Let me help you here.
What, with the microphone?
Yeah, let me help. No, not the microphone. Let me help you here. I'm glad they're 0-2 because I want to see Justin Bieber in the.
Oh, what?
In the Stanley Cup.
Wait,
so that is my win of the week.
Are you saying you hope the Panthers lose?
That is my win of the week, so I'm jinxing them.
It's too late for that.
Can we tell her to get out?
Yeah.
I'm jinxing them. I'm helping you here.
It's not a jinx if that's the plan. It's not. Doesn't know how it works.
Well, I want to see Justin Bieber.
It's not a jinx at all.
I want to see Justin Bieber.
Okay, I want to get into Sergei Bobrovsky. And David, you pointed out some stats.
Toronto has.
You. Okay.
Toronto sure has.
David, you pointed out some stats the night before, and I got some added stats here. This is from Natural Stat Trick and Money Puck. In Game 1, the Panthers had an expected goals against of 3.38 and a 1.6 expected goals against on 5-on-5. Sergei Bobrovsky gave up 5 goals on 30 shots, all on 5-on-5. He had a goals save above expected of negative 1.98. On Game 2, the Panthers had an expected goals against of 1.89. You would think they would win. And a 1.09 on 5-on-5.
Very good.
Yeah, Sergei Bobrovsky gave up 4 goals on 20 shots with 3 on 5-on-5. His goals saved above expected was negative 2.26. Explain the significance in that, because that is bad.
The significance is that goals saved above expected, basically zero, like even, means you're making the saves you're supposed to. When you start getting into the plus numbers, it means you're making saves you're not supposed to. When you get into the minus numbers, it means you're letting up goals that you should be stopping.
Yeah.
And based on those numbers, negative 1.5 for one game, negative 2.5 for another game, that's icky for a guy who we've seen be the Panthers' best player on their last 3 playoff runs. Even the one that they lost to Tampa in the second round, he was the best player for them. He needs to be the best player if they're going to come back in the series.
So not only is Sergei Bobrovsky not making the saves that's going to steal you a win, he's not making the saves that a top-flight elite goaltender makes, or even a backup goaltender would make.
Well, that's the problem. He's still coming up with some good saves. I think the problem is he's not making the saves he usually makes, which, again, drives his numbers up in terms of goals allowed, expected. And he needs to. Like, yes, spectacular saves are awesome, but if you don't bridge those spectacular saves with the ones you're supposed to make, then what the hell are we doing? It's the playoffs. They're all important at this point.
I'll say this, though. It's hard to put it all on Bob.
No. The defense has been terrible.
No, I know that's not what you're doing. I see a lot of Panther fans that are kind of exclusively putting this on Bob. First of all, he just won you a Stanley Cup. So
No. That was a year ago.
I know it was a year ago, but he just won you a Stanley Cup. So in general, Bob's whole thing here, his contract is fulfilled. He brought you a Stanley Cup.
In terms of his legacy, sure, but right now we're in the middle of a playoff run.
For sure, and he needs to be better, but it is hard to put it all on Bob. We were talking about it on the show today. There are probably 7 guys before you get to Bob that you could say need to be better if the Panthers are going to win this series. Carter Verhaeghe, Matthew Tkachuk, Nico Mikkola, Dmitry Kulikov needs to be better. Nate Schmidt and Uvis Balinskis need to be better. There are guys you get to before you get to Bobrovsky that need to be better. Ultimately, does Bob need to be better? Yes, of course. He hasn't played well the first 2. And not only did he give up bad goals, he gave up bad goals at really bad times.
This is play by a team.
Twice the Panthers took the lead, and Bobrovsky immediately gave the lead back.
That's what I was going to follow up with. Yes, there are guys that need to be better. However, if Bobrovsky has a little bit better of a game in game 2, they win that game.
The defensive unit for the Florida Panthers haven't done well. I'm just talking about the defensemen here. All right, Dmitry Kulikov he has had several major mistakes, including that delay of game penalty. That was bad.
And even guys that you expect better from who have played.
Seth Jones, -3.
They played somewhat well. Like, they haven't been terrible, but they haven't been themselves, right? Seth Jones has not been himself. Gustav Forsling, even, a guy who's been so solid for the Panthers the last 2, 3, 4 years, has not played very well. Up to his standard, I would say, in this series. So they need guys to not only get better, but get back to their standard of play. Sam Reinhart's an example of that, where he's doing good things. He's not being the Sam Reinhart we've come to know that scored 57 goals.
You said Nico Mikkola, he's a -3. He's committed bad penalties. He's been bad as well. And everybody.
And he's been caught out on the rush as well. He's been caught out on the rush a couple times as well. So it's like, these guys just need to play better.
They've been
up
bad
to
on the
their
back
standard.
They've been bad on the back check. And that's been
horrible.
That's
the tight gap is.
And like I said earlier, if that's the game, you're gonna lose it every single time.
All right. So we are just waiting for Game 3 tonight. Hopefully, I'm saying this like I'm not biased. You might as well play the button right there. Hit the button.
No, hopefully when we come back for next week's hockey show, we're still talking about a current Panther season and not a past Panther season. Let's just leave it at that.
Like a hot cake.
Can't split this. Gotta win both. That's it. And that's the end of the hockey show. For Dave, for Ethan, for Rosie, for Mike, for Jason, whoever the hell else is. Put the camera on back there, please. Who's back there? Who's back in the video control room?
Nobody, apparently.
Oh, hey,
Danny and Gino.
Wow.
Jason's not even here today, is he?
Jason's not even here.
So Mike, Danny, and Gino, thank you for
putting
doing
up with
stuff.
us.
Buttons.
That's pretty much it. All right. Have a good weekend, everybody. Good week. What?
Oh, I thought we already ended. Sorry.
Rose.
I was thinking about what the
time.
Bye.
Bye.